Hello and welcome to today's episode of Drug Diaries, where we are going to explore a truly fascinating and timely topic, healthcare innovation. In a world where digital transformation is reshaping industries, healthcare stands out as one of the most exciting and impactful areas for innovation. With advancements in technology, we are seeing the potential to revolutionize patient care, streamline processes, and bring entirely new solutions to some of the most pressing health challenges. In today's episode, we're going to talk about what makes healthcare innovation so compelling in this moment and why navigating this space is so complex. And to help us do that, I'm excited to welcome Tim Wright, CEO of Zoas Ltd. Tim is someone who truly understands the unique complexities of the healthcare startup space, and there's no one better to help us navigate this challenging landscape. Healthcare innovation, particularly in the UK, operates with a complex maze. It's a sector where cutting-edge ideas and life-saving technologies must overcome significant regulatory hurdles, reimbursement challenges, and adoption barriers. The path to bringing new healthcare innovations to market is long and often prohibitively expensive. First of all, technologies must go through extensive clinical trials and rigorous data collection to prove their safety and efficacy, an endeavor that can be especially tough for smaller companies and startups that may lack the financial muscle to survive this process. And even after obtaining regulatory approval, the next challenge looms: reimbursement. Convincing insurance providers and regulatory bodies like NICE to cover a new product is no small feat. Cost effectiveness, budget impact, and clinical benefits are all carefully weighed, and even the most innovative solutions can be blocked if they don't meet the stringent financial and clinical criteria. But the challenges don't end there. Even with regulatory approval and reimbursement, adoption can be frustratingly slow. All these hurdles and challenges lead to one of the most fundamental questions in healthcare innovation: who ultimately pays for these advances? Tim has a first-hand experience navigating these challenges and opportunities. His leadership at Zoas has positioned him as a key voice in the UK healthcare tech market. And today, he will offer us a deep dive into the future of healthcare technology, how companies can overcome these barriers, and what innovators need to know about the current landscape. For anyone interested in the intersection of technology and healthcare, this conversation is essential. So without further ado, let's welcome Tim to the show. Welcome to Drug Diaries, Tim.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having us to the Drug Diaries. Really happy to be here and of your success. So yeah, really interesting and an area that I'm very passionate about. So yeah, looking forward to having this discussion.
Fantastic. Likewise, I'm really excited to have you here and can't wait to dive into our conversation. So to begin with, Tim, can you walk us through your journey and what led you to founding Zoas Ltd?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'll try to make it as short as I can, but I guess I'm a little bit unusual the way that I've come into it, and it's been a long road to get here, as my grey hair suggests. But I'm a former physiotherapist, actually, so a clinician from Australia. So I came over here many moons ago as a sports physio, both in the NHS, coming over in my sort of mid to late 20s, and also in professional sport, rugby, cricket, and a couple of Olympics, and really loved being a physio. I ended up focusing on cricket, actually, and down in Sussex, Sharks, they're called, in Brighton and Hove. So I loved my time down there. But I got an opportunity to set up my own business doing on-site physio within a corporate randomly. So I left, and I felt pretty fatigued after dealing with elite athletes 24/7, pretty much constantly without many breaks. So I decided the opportunity was too good so I got out of elite sport, got into corporate physio, set up a business where we kind of first mover in terms of delivering on-site corporate physio within the likes of Deutsche Bank and BNP Paribas and various investment banks. And that grew nicely over a number of years. Eventually it got acquired quite relatively quickly, probably 2 years in, by a company that became Nuffield Health and was part of the expansion of that. I was always I did an MBA and Master of International Finance. I was much more interested in, I guess, scalable healthcare solutions and service solutions. Not so much digital wasn't even on my radar, but I was very focused on outcome measures and delivering value of those healthcare services. So I set up and worked with insurers. Once I left the earnout, I left Nuffield and worked with various insurers, health and risk and protection insurers, both on a UK and global level, developing sort of bricks and mortar networks of MSK, musculoskeletal, I should say, and mental health networks, doing a lot around return to work. So that's an area I know very well, sort of income protection insurance, etc. And
Right.
all of that was around outcome measures and providing analytics and providing effectiveness. And that kind of led me as I became more analytical on that journey to not fall into, but evolve into digital health. And I guess that's where my digital health started at probably 12 or 13 years. I was quite interested in stress and why people were off work with stress. And then I came across a business in Finland, First Bit. I'm still very much part of that proposition, which was looking at stress and recovery and a different way of looking at preventative healthcare, getting the balancing act right, and help grow that business. We sold part of that business to Garmin, our analytics business. And subsequently, I started then working for a number of digital health solutions, from digital pathology, some mental health solutions. And I guess Zoas was born out of that, knowing that there was an opportunity more in the commercial sense, the pricing, the proposition, the fit, scalability, and yeah, very much around. Zoas is now, fast forward, a team of about 15 consultants, where we all are a little bit older, a little bit wiser, but we know, and we're very much private healthcare, I should say. So, but we know every vertical. So whether it's private hospitals, health insurance, EAPs, corporate health, telehealth, we kind of broad spectrum across the board. So we do a lot of product market fit, feasibility, go-to-market. We also know the Australian market very well, obviously, my background. So we do some work into the Australian market. But we also do a lot of fractional sales and partnership and support digital health businesses from startup to raising to Series A. That's kind of our sweet spot. As we accelerate the growth, we unlock partnerships that perhaps other people can't do at that stage. So yeah, that's us in a nutshell. Hope that's helpful. And that's the short version as well.
Absolutely. And that's a remarkable transition from physiotherapy to digital technology and innovation. And obviously, you've been operating in this field for many, many years, and you've seen the rapid evolution of the healthcare ecosystem. What are some of the most significant trends you have observed in the healthcare startup space?
Well, there's a proliferation of solutions right now, but when I guess I started, it was very much around some core areas. It might have been physio, or it might have been, physio for physiotherapists giving exercises to their patients, for example. And it was more a clinician-led type of evolution. Now it's more, well, what does the end client need? How are we going to get better engagement? How are we going to get better outcomes from them actually applying this? And I've seen the evolution from sort of that into, during COVID, it was just a free for all, and let's make our employees, let's make our members happy, let's give them this, let's give them that. To now it's back to almost post-pandemic, much more around, well, what are the costs? What are the solutions that address the costs from, say, an insurer? It might be claims costs, or for employers, it might be sickness absenteeism. There's still room for that added value solutions, but the focus has been much more on that. And also not just an app or a solution, but something that takes you somewhere. And that could be a face-to-face journey as well, if needed. The kind of full transition is happening at the moment. And I think what's happening at the moment is the quality is winning. During the pandemic, it was more about quantity, or let's just make people happy, and let's maybe there's a bit more focus on mental health. But now very much it's around, are these things working and are they giving true value?
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And what challenges do healthcare startups face when they're trying to integrate digital innovation into traditional healthcare systems?
Yeah, I think runway and finance is obviously a big issue. It's definitely a harder market at the moment to raise money, especially from that startup point of view. And maybe that will unlock after the US elections, and we'll see what happens early next year. It just feels like it's going to open up a little bit more. We'll see. Funding is tough, and there's some businesses are having to hustle by, and sales cycles are longer, and that equates to difficult situations for digital health businesses, especially if they've not got the revenue coming in. So I think that's one of them. I think regulatory status, although not as probably as important as the NHS, but IT, governance, security, not having all the right things in place can really be a barrier. It can be a non-starter. even with the best sort of solutions. So I think there are a couple of the things that jump out at the moment. I think the other thing is perhaps some of the digital health businesses believe, or their founders believe they've got the solution, but they don't understand the market dynamics, and they haven't done their homework. They haven't understood the different verticals, and each vertical within the private market is quite different. What telehealth potentially want is quite different from what an insurer wants, and what are the drivers for each of them, and is their solution fit for purpose in each of those verticals? And if they need to pivot, Can they pivot? Have they got that flexibility? And that probably leads me on to the other area that is needed at the moment. You need to have a little bit more flexibility, perhaps during COVID and things like that. You could give a headspace or something like that, which was and a good solution. I'm not rubbishing that, but now it's much more around sort of a little bit more flexible. Does it integrate here? Does it escalate there, etc. So the flexibility is a key one. So if you're not showing a great degree of flexibility, I think it can be a little bit tricky in the market at the moment.
Right. And how difficult is the access part? Because let's say if someone like me comes up with a new innovative solution that could address a pressing healthcare need, how would I figure out who to get in front of, and how easy or difficult it is to get in front of the right stakeholders?
It's incredibly difficult. Yeah. They are getting bombarded continuously by solutions, particularly insurers. A lot of people think that's where the golden goose is. I don't talk about the pharma. I know you know pharma really well. I don't know that vertical very well, so I'm going to kind of peel that one away. But in the verticals that we work, it's really tricky. You need to have a defined USP. Again, you need to have done your homework, that you can see that you've got a clear USP for the private market, and if not all the different verticals or particular verticals. But it is tricky. I think it's a combination of having the right solution, understanding your competitors and how you're different, and then it's maybe getting proof of concept, pilots. It is difficult getting access. You've got to try different methodologies. It might be from, obviously we've got LinkedIn, we've got all sorts of different areas where you can find these people, but unlocking that is about how you position it for that person to get their attention. And if you haven't positioned it correctly, you'll get the deathly silence. So it's about that communication, working, people like us, we can obviously identify those people and potentially get there, but you would have had to have done your homework very much to get the messaging correct. I think there's a lot that's lost in messaging and how we position the solutions for the clients that we want to get in front of.
Right. And are you able to share any examples or insights on building successful strategic partnerships in the healthcare tech sectors?
Yeah, I think one of the stellar clients that we work with is Equal, which is a business that has created PHYO, digital physiotherapy, triage, front door, MSK, into self-management and into face-to-face network. So we started with them probably 4.5 years ago. It was when I met Jason and Peter. They're the co-founders, and Sam, I should say, co-founders down in London. And they had a plan on a page. They came to me from investment. I certainly saw the solution and realised my pockets were nowhere near what they needed. I sent them away, but I liked the solution. I could see that it was going to have real legs for insurers especially, and I started working with them from an early stage. But a typical hockey stick. There was a lot of work in the first year, both from a product development point of view through to identifying the first mover that we could get. And I think it took us a whole year to get one client. And then we had to have patient investors and to communicate to the investors where the end goal was. So mapping the market, understanding the roadmap and our pipeline, identifying the hockey stick, and that it was going to be challenging even with a great product. So I think what that I'm telling people is it can take time. Sales cycle especially, and the adoption and first movers take time. And you've got to both the owner of the digital health solution and investors need to have that realization. I think our success was the tenacity and identifying the right verticals to begin with. And then after the first 1.5 years, we landed one of the largest cash plan providers. They took a risk. They went with us, and that supercharged us. But also we identified that the solution was also across into the NHS. And the identification of a business like us is called Quiddity that does NHS only. And they invested in Quiddity to do the NHS. So, and that's been really interesting to watch, that when actually they've been very successful getting NHS contracts, the private market's been a bit sluggish, and then the private market's flown in the NHS. So having that sort of different revenues coming in at different times during different sales cycles, and also different challenges within healthcare, the whole UK healthcare market, meant that there was a continual drip feeding of revenue coming in. And then we've been able to evolve the product for the corporate market, for other verticals, and finding first movers, proof of concept, and now into international territories like Australia, where we're in a strategic partnership with Mercer Marsh, and we're starting to work with them into large corporates into Australia, and we're just waiting for the signal that we might have the first insurer. That it's been 5 years of hard grit, but a lot of thought has gone into not just product development, but in terms of partnership strategy as well.
Right.
So we started with zero revenues, and we are, I think it's this year we should be doing closer to 5 million. So that's not just our private area, but that's also including 2 other areas as well. So it's been, now we're going on the upslope. We've got our own challenges, new challenges, but we're out of that sort of dip into the growth phase.
Right. And do you also help small innovators to secure funding for their projects?
I can, and we've got an arm that does grants and bids, and that's been quite successful for some startups, because that's another way that they can have revenue to grow their business. In terms of investment, I do know angels and networks of angels and seed investors. VCs I'm only just starting to get to know, so I have got access to some. However, that's not my strong suit at the moment, to be perfectly honest. So it's more sort of angels and yes. I think what founders need to know is what type of investors they need for what stage of their business. So perhaps early stage is grant and angels until they get to a certain revenue growth, and then they can move into either a trade partner who's willing to invest like they did with Equal, or VC funding as well.
Right. And you mentioned that you're now venturing into the international markets. What strategies have you found most effective for the international market entry?
It's a really interesting one, because we did a lot of work on that with Equal, whether we went to the US first or we went to other territories. And we saw that a lot of digital health businesses had run a crop going to the US, perhaps thought that's where the golden nugget lay.
Right.
And that's where their beacon went to, but they've unfortunately crashed and burnt by going to the US. And I think we'd seen 2 or 3 of those type of businesses. And also we looked at the competitive landscape in the US, and we thought, with companies like Hinge and Sword and various MSK products that are there and doing well, it would be very difficult to break in as a foreign entry into the US market. So we've taken a different approach to look at the Commonwealth countries of Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and similar healthcare systems to the UK in some ways. Not identical. No one, Australia's certainly not identical. So they don't have quite what the NHS is, but they have a more even balance between public and private, and a little bit and more health insurance penetration to the population. Right. We felt that it was a better strategy going that way, talking the same language, understanding what the insurance pressures were, understanding what the healthcare pressures were on the from a national point of view, and also understanding that maybe knowing Australians, they might make decisions a bit faster, and it was a little bit green from digital health innovation. So that's where we've gone. It's taken us a good year again to get traction. But now it's starting to really fast speed up, and I think we're paying dividends for that strategy. And maybe we might enter the US market, but it's a very challenging market.
It is, yes.
So I think the approach that we're taking for Equal and FEO is the right one.
Yeah, I think the US is quite a complex market, and especially with the healthcare insurers, and you can face some very tough negotiations in that environment.
Yeah, and I think also everyone says it's like a different country each state. So from a regulatory, cultural, financial outlay point of view, I think it is quite challenging. I think, yes, you can succeed there, but it's about the competitive landscape as well. And I think we felt that it was better to go go east rather than west.
Yes, makes sense. Right. And looking at the current trends in digital health, health tech and innovation. Which trends excite you the most?
Yeah, there's some really exciting ones going on. I mean, what we're seeing actually is two very different winning strategies. One is best in class, so best in class mental health, or best in class MSK, or best in class women's health, or best in class ophthalmology. Eye testing, digital eye testing. That's great. If you've got a product and it's unique and it's probably best in class, you're going to do well. Then you've got the best platforms. So you've got organizations like Spectrum Life and HealthKey, which are putting together some incredible platforms that make it. We take Spectrum Life, they're on a massive, they raised 17 million out of Ireland. I think they're up to 10 million insured clients. They're going on an international growth spurt. They're really getting traction because what they've developed is an incredible platform, almost a digital front door of all the digital solutions of what we're saying, the best in class solutions. So the ability to sit there, integrates with the claims, integrates with what insurers need, the front door of all the clinical services, all the digital services. So providing that rather than an insurer trying to build it themselves and probably having a hash at that means that it's almost like a ready-made plug and play, and they can drop in a VGP or a telehealth provider or Theo or women's health solution, and at another stage take them out if the contract's only and someone else comes in. So I'm seeing that. So best ecosystem or platform or best in class, and there is a convergence of that as well. So and a partnership play like HealthKey do, a marketplace of digital health solutions, but they also take core elements of, we know the big mental health physio, primary care, maybe women's health, to a corporate wrapped up in a little package. And that's quite appealing because a corporate goes, oh, okay, it's all here that I need. So making it easy for the insurer, for the corporate, is also a winning strategy as well.
Right. And how do you see the role of AI and data analytics evolving in healthcare?
Yeah, it's a good point. I'm not a massive knower. My education on AI is not limited, but I'm not a deep immersion into AI. I do know that it's playing its role. I mean, AI is from limbic and mental health to Theo, MSK. They're using chatbots with AI, generative AI, and conversational AI at the moment. And sometimes they're not fully into. I think it's LML AI. Maybe you know this better than me, but it's almost like it's used, but there's a they're not going full in, and I guess there's a little reservation in terms of that. But it's an evolution, not a revolution, and I sense it's happening. It makes a big difference. Having a physio assessment through your phone to get you into the right pathway makes a lot of sense. Through a chatbot and talking, and I was just using it with my bank the other day in terms of trying to reset my PIN or I had some issues with my card, and it was resolved really quickly rather than sitting on a phone line for ages waiting for somebody. So it's definitely having its effectiveness and on efficiency. I think it'll be interesting to see where it goes and how far it goes, but where I see it, right pathway, right front door, using machine learning is having I think a positive contribution. Interesting to see what are your thoughts there, actually?
I came across some really innovative trends, such as the use of invisibles, which is more prominent in the US, where they've got these devices which act almost like a Wi-Fi router, and they work in the background of the patients, and they emit radio waves, and these radio waves bounce off the patient's bodies, and you are able to track them. You're able to track their movements, you're able to track their breathing, their heartbeats, their sleep patterns, and they don't have to wear any gadgets or any smart watches, and it just works in the background. And right now I think they're trying out in atopic dermatitis, where they've seen some very good results, and also in mental illnesses such as dementia, such as Alzheimer's. They track the sleep patterns, they try and see how the patient is moving physically, and how many steps are they doing without having to deploy any gadgets on their bodies. So that is fascinating. But I think the big challenge is the access to these innovations to the people, because by the time these innovations become accessible, I think it'll be good 5-6 years or maybe 10 years, you never know. And that's where I think regulation and regulatory authorities play a big role. because while these innovations are all very tempting and they seem to have a lot of benefits, but again, the evaluation and doing adequate number of trials to be able to justify that spend is critical.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think it's all good as long as engagement's good as well. You know, a lot of it is focused on how good is the AI, how good is the digital solution, but it's only as good as how it's used. So, you know, employees measure engagement. You know, you could have a greatest mental health solution, but nobody's using it. You know, so it's going to, you know, the corporate is going to bin it after a year or whatever, after the contract length or after a pilot that might be successful. It's got to be the engagement, the use, the effectiveness has to have and it has to have an impact. And potentially it's got to take you somewhere if it's mental health physio. It's, you know, you don't want to, or women's health, you know, you don't want to just stop. If you need to go and see a dermatologist or you need to go and see a women's health specialist, you don't want to just stop and then it's down to you. You want to have that complete pathway. So there's other areas that are as important, if not more important at the moment.
Yes, absolutely. Tim, what are some of the biggest leadership challenges you've encountered as CEO?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Just thinking back on some of the big ones. I'll tell you a couple of ones. One is probably lack of. That's a really good question. Charisma. Not so much charisma. Lack of where people have seen solutions really. Here's a good example. So. There's a company called MyZone. It's a health and wellness. Have you heard of MyZone?
Yes, I've heard of them.
Real-time sort of heart rates used in gyms, got to watch all that.
Yes.
Called Dave Wright, character. Mr. Energy, Mr. Charismatic, lives and breathes his business, is just such an ambassador for his solution that I think it's been as successful, that business, as the product. And the product is good. But I think it's been even more so because of him and leadership capabilities of charisma, you know, knowing that leader is putting their heart and soul into it. People really believe in that. So it's that leadership characteristic. I'm trying to put my hand, but someone who is flat and doesn't show visionary leadership can lose the team or lose the locker room. And I've seen that happen time. It can be the best product in the world. But nobody's listening, external and internally. So that's number one. Number two is inflexibility, being stubborn on thinking you know what the product is and what the market wants. I've seen that. I've seen businesses burn cash because they're not accepting the feedback that they're getting from the market.
Right.
And number three would be, just setting the culture within the business. So again, that probably lies in everybody will buy into and follow the leader. You know, not that I'm a huge Elon Musk, but I'm sure that there's many people out there that work for Tesla or whatever, and you know, SpaceX and all that just idolize him and want to work for that business. And that's probably another area of leadership that is needed in this sort of digital health space. Someone that's going to go and speak regularly at conferences, people are going to listen. I think people buy into as much about that person as they do about the product.
Very well said. And I think I totally agree with you. You're spot on. I think if the leader is able to instill that passion and the excitement about the product, they're able to tell the stories to the clients and to their own employees and get them excited about the product, I think that works wonders, and it really helps the idea to propagate more than it would have in another case.
I think probably the other one is tenacity. It's a hard road.
Tenacity, yeah. You know,
resilience and tenacity is a hard road. It's understanding that you're going to have your highs and the lows and how you're going to respond to the lows. Understanding that sales cycles, especially in my world, B2B, not B2C, B2B, some of these cycles take a long time. You know, you think that you know that product's going to be ideal for that insurer or that business. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to take it. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've got to understand what their barriers and their objections are, but you've got to be chipping away. I know with one client, I think we're going to close soon. I've been on that business for 3 years. 3 years of hard graft, and you can't give up from a sales and partnership point of view. You know, that's something that it's that tenacity, that longevity that is important.
Absolutely. And here I've got a slightly tough question for you, given how rapidly things are evolving around us. Where do you see the healthcare startup ecosystem heading in the next 5 to 10 years? I know it's a very long span and it's hard to predict even what's going to happen in the coming 2, 3 years, but I just want to take your views on that.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's something I've been asking myself in the last sort of 6 months. Is in my world, it comes down to funding. So again, when I guess VC funding and PE and there's a lot more money sort of sloshing around from an investment point of view, then that makes the digital health world exciting. Not to say it isn't exciting, but it makes it some interesting opportunities come through that perhaps wouldn't before. I think there is, so I think it depends on the investment community over the next sort of, 5 years and funding.
Right.
I think the ones that are winning, so I think quality and the cream will come to the top. So you're finding that a lot of the ones that perhaps were a little wishy-washy, haven't got their fundamentals right, will sort of wash away and they'll be left with ones that will really succeed and ones that will really turn into unicorns from an individual point of view. And then I think there's that, where's it going to go? Is it going to be the best in class or the best platform, or is the best platform going to gobble up these individual solutions so they're the owner of all, if that makes sense?
Yes.
So there may be, and that means that there'll be some interesting unicorns coming out of that side. Maybe the Spectrum Life will continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they'll acquire some of these individual components. And then I think it's internationalization as well. So some of the globalization of some of these solutions where they are more fit for purpose globally, language capabilities, scalability, pricing for different markets, regulatory status, how some of these barriers are overcome faster so that, a solution can be rolled out to multinationally very easy rather than using something in one territory, something in another. So I think my take is they're the three areas I think we'll see over the next couple of years. It'll be interesting. It's hard always to, quick gaze into a crystal ball, but that's where I think things are going to head.
Right. I agree with your views there. And what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs in the healthcare tech space?
I think the opportunities are amazing. I think I don't like to, I don't want to curb their enthusiasm. I don't want to curb innovation. I don't want to, I hate doing that, but it is challenging and you will face headwinds. I think you have to be realistic, but the opportunities are there. The ones that come through, there's great revenues. You can then get to the next stage of Series A and, we've seen some magnificent success stories. I think be aware that each level presents itself with its own challenges and you've got to be prepared for those. It's not plain sailing once you get into a certain revenue category. It is challenging all the way through, but the rewards are there. I think the biggest thing is do your homework on the market, do your homework on your competitors, or build the house with solid foundations so that you are ready. If you don't have a clear USP, you don't have a clear product market fit, you could burn a lot of cash and put pressure on yourself, investors, and ultimately your family as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's kind of very hard thing to objectively look at your idea and be rational about it because you are obviously excited about your idea, your innovation, and you think that it's the best. And objectively being able to assess the merit of your solution is very important.
Yeah,
and that's where I think...
we call them critical friends. So going out to the market, buyers, proposition leads, people that know if something's going to work or not, or it may, but it needs to be tweaked or it needs to be, perhaps positioned differently is key. I mean, I'm a big fan of focus groups. We did with Equal, we decided we're going to approach with an innovative solution into, a different product than the insurers into the corporate market. But we did focus groups with, a propositions lead, risk and reward leads, HR directors to really ascertain what do they need from a musculoskeletal solution to address MSK issues in the workplace. And then that, we were able to create a white paper. From that, we were able to create a product, marketing, messaging, and now we're ready to go to market. But that whole process has taken a year. We haven't rushed into that, and you've got to first look for ambassadors and first movers, people that are looking to take the plunge, and you've got to get the pricing right as well. So a lot of the homework has been done over the last 6 to 12 months to approach that new vertical, and we think we've got it about right. But it's again, like you said, objective feedback. If we'd rushed into it, I can tell you right now, we wouldn't get one sale, and we probably wouldn't have one partnership. So I'm excited for the future because I think we've done our homework there, and I think we've got it about right.
Right. Yeah. I really like the example that you just gave, and it's fascinating to see how an idea or a concept was built ground up and organically and then taken to the market as opposed to just coming up with the idea. So building the product straight away. Yeah.
It's interesting in the Australian market. It's all about pilots. It's all about proof of concept. You
MVPs.
cannot do anything down there without doing that. Here it's a bit different. We've been able to do contracts without going into that. And in Australia, it's like everything is about that. So you've got to be prepared to perhaps look for those opportunities. That might be another way to get in, is to look for those opportunities and then deliver a knockout blow in terms of delivering the right outcomes. And I've seen that happen a couple of times, and then going into commercial partnerships. Be prepared to do that. Be prepared to be really flexible on pricing because, it's pretty competitive from a pricing point of view. So you may have to do it at cost or even do it at a loss to begin with. There's got to look at what is it going to take, even with my wonderful solution, and the market has said it's great and all that, to get a foot in the door, to get some sort of first mover advantage, and to get in there, you've got to be a little bit more adaptable than perhaps in the olden days.
A bit of a philosophical question here, but what motivates you personally to keep pushing boundaries in the healthcare innovation tech space?
Yeah, I mean, I've always worked in healthcare, so I think it's a lovely sector to be involved in because in some small way you're making a bit of a difference. Yes, we're more commercial, but if we're getting somebody faster, quicker to a physio, or we're getting the right advice and the right sort of education around women's health, or someone's having an eye test and it's picked something up, quickly, we know that we've had some small part to play in that success journey. So that's probably number one. It's great to stay in my lane, which is healthcare. I've always been there. I think the other thing is protecting owners, protecting investors from wasting money. So I've seen a lot of money, especially during the pandemic and maybe pre-pandemic, a lot of money wasted in terms of seeing an idea, backing it, throwing money at it, and then that money being that small business running out of cash or whatever. So it's protecting insurers, but also protecting founders from investors as well. Getting the right investor, also making sure they know how to communicate with their investor.
Right.
So and also just protecting them that they're doing the right thing. That they're getting their house in order. That they're building themselves for success, because there's nothing worse than a shaky foundation and getting a bit of success and then running out of cash and that sort of stuff. So getting the right strategy in place for growth is important. So probably all those factors, and personally just quite interested. I get amazing opportunities to see different areas of healthcare. From I'm meeting a company next week which is around male impotency and erectile dysfunction. That's a digital solution I never thought that I'd see, through to facial recognition scanning, right through to a digital stethoscope from Poland. These are some of the amazing things that we see on a week-to-week basis that keeps the creative and commercial juices running continuously. It's good fun as well. And also we've got a great team. We don't take ourselves too seriously. Our culture's built on, kicking goals and hitting our targets and achieving what we set out to do. But it's also having a bit of fun on the journey. And that if you don't do that with good people, then you may as well pack up and go home.
Exactly. Very well said. And what's the best piece of advice you've received throughout your career? And how has it impacted your leadership style and your trajectory?
Yeah, I think a couple that stick out. One was this week, actually. I'll tell you about that. No, it was yesterday, actually, which I always like small phrases and acronyms and all sorts and nuances and stuff like that. But one, when I was working at Spire, it was the commercial director, and I was doing a project for Spire Healthcare, and he said, "Tim, no matter what you do, it's money in the till. You've got to show me money in the till." So I've always had a commercial aspect to understand that if money's not coming in, you're going to run out. So one of the things is money in the till. So I'm when we're working on fractional sales and partnership, it is about, it's not just revenue. It's not all because we take a balanced scorecard approach, but revenue is important. And so, some people dodge that for some weird reason, dodge that sort of area. But I think money in the till. And the other one is, understanding that at the moment things are tight, margins are tight, and say the occupational health, I heard for every pound's a prisoner this week in occupational health. So understanding that margins are tight and it's, solutions need to be really razor sharp on their pricing. So I just get little nuggets through my career. I think I've never really had I've had various sponsors that are sort of mentors and learning how they deal with things, but I think they're the kind of, hear those sort of things and they resonate and stick with me. That's probably two examples.
Right. And are you able to tell us about any moment when you worked really hard and it was a passion project, but for some reason it didn't work out and it almost seemed like a failure? And how did you learn from that failure and course correct it?
Yeah, I'm a big believer that, that there's certainly nothing wrong with failure. It's a normal human trait or happening. You've got to learn from these things. You can never, I think, sail through life without that. So I think, accepting that you're going to have your highs and your lows may be failure. I think, some failures have been in some businesses that didn't achieve the success that perhaps they wanted to. One business that we're involved with, although they had a great partnership with AXA, one of the big insurers here in the UK, we couldn't get traction in other verticals, and I think it was as much the founder and the commercial team not taking that step back, being on the treadmill, right, or being on that little hamster wheel of trying to get sales in and scattergunning everywhere and talking to everybody from every vertical and, not really having a coherent strategy, that I learned that the feasibility piece, the product market fit, was just so important. And they ended up, not getting funding at the 11th hour and pretty much getting picked up very, very cheaply. And I was a shareholder, so I lost my complete investment into that business. So it was not just from a commercial director point of view, but it was as an investor as well. So I understand that you lose from an investment point of view as well. Nothing is guaranteed, and I put my hat off to professional investors who, I think you get one win for every sort of 8 or 7 or 8 or 9, 10 investments. But that is the game that they play. So I think, that's probably an example where, right, I failed with some businesses where we just haven't been able to get the revenue. But again, I think it's taking a bit of a scattergun approach more earlier in my career. So I've been much better in the latter half of when Zoas has evolved, and we're learning from Zoas all the time what's working, what's not. I think it's also understanding the quality of the consultants that we bring in, that you can put if you can find the right team dynamics for the right solution, for the right verticals, that can really do incredibly well. But if you get that wrong, then, again, you're burning cash and you're putting yourself under a lot of pressure. So it's that recruitment or the selection of the team, and doing a lot about thinking about who's the right A team to bring in on this particular solution is what I do a lot of time thinking about, because if you don't, and you only usually get one shot at it, and it's our reputation as well. So we want to show the value that we bring for any of the solutions that we support.
Right. Tim, what personal values do you hold that you believe have shaped Zoas into such a tremendous success?
Well, I think we're only partway there. It's a success where
you're being modest.
I think the success is the people, the team, and it's evolving all the time. I think we've got a wonderful group of consultants. Go to our website, see our team, and they're there, and really have great joy spending time with them. And I see that will continue to build. What was the question again? Sorry, I've lost that.
Sorry, my question was, what personal values do you hold that you believe have shaped Zoas' success?
I think one area is trust and transparency, understanding that you're not going to win everything. I get a lot of feedback about being honest. I Our fundamentals when we set out Zoas with Craig, who's my co-founder and really my buddy in this business, Craig Huddleston, is that we sat down and we said, what is Zoas going to be built on? And we said transparency, picking goals, and having fun. And we've stayed true to that. And we're trying to keep that going so that whenever I do a proposal or I go back to a client or whatever, it always has to reflect those 4 pillars. And if we're playing out there and we're playing on those fundamentals, then we're doing the right thing. And I think that I'm proud of what we're building in terms of a cultural and alignment to those values is so important. And I think that's what's seen us, continue to get incremental growth. I wouldn't say we're a stellar growth machine, but that's not what we want. We want to deliver for our client. We want to grow Zoas over a period of long-term sustainable growth. And so we're doing the right thing, the right values for the right time is really what we're about.
Right. And what's next for Zoas Ltd? Any exciting projects or initiatives on the horizon? I know you talked about a few.
We've got stuff going on all the time. We've got, I'm excited by all the solutions that land on our desk. I think one of the key ones is an interesting one where an insurer is asked to meet us about potentially outsourcing their due diligence around digital health and using our expertise to understand, triage and to filter all the solutions that they get hit upon and then identifying the right ones for them and their partners. That could be a really interesting project if that was to get the green light. I'm pretty excited by that because I think we can add a lot of value there. And I sense that might be an area that we go to, that we move into in the future. I think funding might be an area. I think, we're understanding our different verticals or different areas of the business, advisory, strategic consulting and fractional sales and partnership. But I sense that we will end up maybe developing a fund ourselves or at least working with funds to, again, do that due diligence, do that feasibility, either pre-investment or post-investment. So I think there are a couple of areas that I will be exploring in the next couple of years. And I'll be quite excited about that as well.
Right. Okay. What character traits do you most respect in other people?
I think they're pretty similar to me. When we work with a client, you want to get cultural and value alignment. That's when equals amazing because the founders we get on with so well, but we also know that it's not about it's about delivering results. So we're very aligned in everything that we do, and that's where you get a long-term sustainable contract. When there's malalignment or misalignment, then I sense the end of the road is nigh. So I think the values that I respect the most in the market is trust and transparency. I've been burnt a couple of times by that. It stings, but I've got a thick skin. Yeah. But there's people that do that, but I'm more aware of that. And I don't want to do business with people like that. I want to do business you want to do business with. So I'm a little bit more selective than perhaps I was in the past.
Right. And before we end the episode, is there a final advice that you'd like to give to our audience today?
Yeah, I guess it depends where they're coming in from. But yeah, look, healthcare is a wonderful area to be involved in. Digital health is only going to get stronger and stronger. I think if you've got a passion for that, but find your USP, find your area, do your research, right from conception right through to each stage of the growth cycle. I think understand that there will be challenges, but there'll be great success as well if you get it right. Perhaps understand that the first journey mightn't be the only journey. You might have to rebuild at some stage or perhaps pivot, adapt to market needs and market wants. So that flexibility, adaptation, resilience is an important trait to have. And I guess, make sure you enjoy it as well. There's nothing worse than spending parts of your life not having a bit of fun on the journey as well.
Exactly.
You've got to enjoy the people that you're in your team and then perhaps are on the journey with you. Inspire them, but also look after yourself.
Right. Wow, that's fantastic advice. And that brings us to the end of our today's episode. Tim, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your incredible journey and insights with our audience. And it's been truly inspiring to hear about your career path, the vision behind Zoas Ltd, and your deep understanding of digital healthcare and wellness space. Your thoughts on how technology is transforming healthcare, the challenges and opportunities for innovators, and the importance of strategic partnership have given us a lot to think about. And I especially appreciate your advice for entrepreneurs and healthcare professionals navigating this evolving landscape. It's clear that the future of healthcare is bright, and you are here helping us lead the change. We are excited to see what's next for Zoas Ltd, and I know our listeners will be keeping a close eye on your work. And once again, thank you for your time, your expertise, and for being such a fantastic guest on Drug Diaries. Wishing you all the best for your upcoming projects.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and it was a great question. I've really enjoyed the time spent with you and the Drug Diaries, and wishing you all the best as well. And if there's people out there that want to hit us, www.zoas.biz, come through there. It's my name at Zoas.biz. I'm always up for a conversation, a coffee if you're a virtual coffee, or a coffee in person if you're in London or the UK. So thanks so much. I've enjoyed it a lot.
That's brilliant. I'm going to include all your contact details and website URL in the show notes so that people can reach out to you and get in touch with you. And with that, have a fantastic evening and look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Thank you. We'll catch up again soon. Yeah, it's the weekend time. I can hear hopefully the kids haven't shouted too much, but I hear a lot of shouting going on. So they're ready for the weekend. I think I am too. So thanks so much, and appreciate you inviting me as well.
It's a pleasure. Pleasure having you here.